My name is Troy Thompson. I'm a Chaves County Extension Agriculture Agent. Work for NMSU Cooperative Extension Service here in Roswell. Our office is 200 East Chisholm, door number 4, and our phone number is 622-3210. So if you have questions after this, I'll be glad to try to answer them. You can call me at the office or stop by and see us. I was asked to visit with you a little bit about fall vegetable gardening, and so that's what we're going to do tonight. I've got lots of backup from other agents and specialists to help me with this because that's not my forte, but we'll see if we can't make it work, and hopefully we'll get you some good information. There we go. Okay, first of all, you need to know your climate, your sun and shade patterns, and the way your sun moves from the north to the south. Of course, we all know that it comes up in the east and goes down in the west, but the difference between winter and summer, it moves in a slightly different angle in the sky. So you need to know when that is so you'll be able to plant where you need the most sun and to keep it from the shade. You need to know your elevation. You need to know your predominant wind so you can keep your plants out of the wind. And protection, the same. Be able to protect your plants from any adverse weather. We also need to know your first frost dates, and I'll give you here an average here in just a second on the next slide. Winter temps you need to know, and also the temperature swings in your area, so you'll know what will work. Okay, so our fall frost dates on average are shown here, and here's 2 websites that you can go on that have a lot of good information. You kind of have to dig through some of it to find what you need, but they've got lots of information. September 15th, which we're past that now, but that's your average frost date for Grants, Gallup, Raton, and Springer. September 25th through the 30th, somewhere along in there, your Las Vegas and East Mountain areas. Albuquerque Valley, Santa Fe, and Portales, usually looking about October 5th through the 10th. The city of Albuquerque and Farmington are usually looking at about 15th through the 20th of October. And in our area, and Las Cruces, Silver City, Alamogordo, and Carlsbad, we normally have an average frost date of October 31st. So that gives you an idea of the stuff that you want to plant and if you've got time to do it now. So one of the first things you want to do is clean up your garden from the summer. You want to remove all your diseased plants because those cause problems. If you leave them around, they can leave bacteria in the soil. You want to remove your spent or non-bearing plants for the same reason. You want to trim back your tomatoes and your vines. You want to cut your corn stalks. Some you can use for fall decor because today is the first day of fall. And you also want to terminate your cover crops, usually 2 weeks prior to planting, so that you can plant whatever you're going to do next. So with your soil prep, you want to make sure your soils are pretty dry and again clean up your dead materials. You want to rehydrate them and mix everything in so you'll have a clean slate, so your topsoil will mix down with everything else. Add compost if you're going to do that, probably a week before planting, and stir it all in. You want to incorporate your cover crops that you've terminated 2 weeks before planting, so it'll be ready for the new seeding. You want to decide if you want to till versus minimum till. Till is pretty much, full-blown till up the soil, and minimum till is just a small amount of tilling, leaving vegetation on the ground so you'll increase your organic matter. And you also want to decide if you want to use raised beds or in-ground. So some people have a preference, and depends on your area or your property. You have a choice to do either one of those, and we can talk a little bit more about some of those later. So if you're wanting to do a fall cover crop or winter cover crop, so you'll have a cover crop through the winter. Today's the day to start. You can plant winter wheat, cereal, rye, triticale, barley. If you have salinity issues, barley is one of the best things you can do to kind of help with your salinity issues if you have those. Some of the other things you can plant is common vetch, Austrian winter peas, canola, rape, which is also known as rapeseed, daikon radish, turnips, white clover. All these things pretty much need 6 weeks for good growth. So for our area and our average frost date, which is the 31st of October, now's the best time to be putting those in. You want to cover your bare soil with shredded leaves or straw, and if you want to put manure and compost, you want to put them now so they can age. You want to keep your soil moist all winter, because moist soil means alive soil. Here's some of the reasons we want to plant cover crops. First of all, they enhance soil structure. They improve soil aggregates, and they improve aeration so that your soil can breathe. They also improve pest management, because with improved pest management, you have weed suppression, pathogen suppression, and nematode suppression. They also increase soil organic matter to improve nutrient cycling, improve pH buffering, and increase soil biota. Also, your environmental qualities will be improved to help reduce your nitrogen leaching, reduce erosion, and reduce runoff. So, watering in the winter, plants still need water. The common idea is maybe not to water them or not to water them as much, but they still do need water in the winter. And one of the water meters that we like to use is our fingers. You can stick your finger down in the soil and see how deep down it's wet, and if it's dry, then you need to go ahead and water, just like you would, say, your house plants. Some people like to harvest the rain and the snow melt because that's some of the best water that you can use in your garden as well as anywhere else. Your well water sometimes can have some salinity and brackish issues, so it's not as good as, say, your harvested rain or snow melt. And when you're finished watering, you want to make sure you drain your lines and hoses so you don't have to worry about the freeze getting them or breaking hoses and having to replace those. So I've got a list here of stuff we can plant now. We've got a list that you can see, and I'll kind of go through each one of them and give you a time frame for each one and give you a little bit of information about them. So for your spring flowering bulbs, we plant them in September and October. Some of those include daffodils, crocus, hyacinths, tulips, and irises. And they're all early spring blooming bulbs. They need enough chill hours to bloom. And if you don't know what chill hours are, that's basically the amount of time between frost, or like 32 degrees, and the time it takes to warm up. And some can handle less chill hours than others, so you kind of need to know what you're planting and what the chill hours are. And you may actually have to wrap some of them in mesh to protect them from squirrels and other critters, because they're still active in the winter also. So one of the things that we can plant is garlic, usually mid-September throughout early October in the colder climates, and mid-October to early November in the warmer climates. In the colder climates, you can use hardneck varieties, where the warmer climates usually have more of the softneck varieties. You can mulch after planting. That kind of helps hold your moisture in and help your organic matter. They tend to need cooler temps, about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Plant them 1 to 3 inches deep, 4 to 6 inches apart. They prefer loose soil, not heavy clay. And if you want to know more about that, NMSU publication H234 has some good information about that. And if you go to the NMSU website and type in publications, it'll give you a list of different publications such as horticulture, agronomy, livestock, and you can search for that particular publication, as well as some of the others that go along with this presentation. Lettuce is another one that that's a good one to plant now. The oak leaf, green leaf, or red leaf, it likes it cool, but it does not like frost. So about 30 to 45 days from seed to harvest is the time frame it takes to grow. You sometimes can have multiple harvests. It does need protection from cold freeze, so keep that in mind if you're going to plant lettuce. Spinach is another one that's a favorite for some people. It takes about 30 days from planting to harvest. Some varieties are more cold tolerant than others, so make sure you look to see what varieties you're having. Also, you can have multiple harvests from spinach, and they will also benefit from cold protection. Kale, I don't think we have a whole lot around here, but I know it's popular in some areas. Usually takes 60 to 90 days to grow. It germinates best in warmer soils. You need to seed it at least 4 to 6 weeks before frost. Some cultivars, again, are more cold hardy than others, and generally, that should be generally, leave in field most of the winter, and they may benefit from light protection also. Then we have Swiss chard, and that's a pretty picture of Swiss chard. I don't know how many people of you plant that, but they're known as leaf beets. They're close cousins to beet. You sow directly into the soil 4 to 6 weeks or 4 weeks before frost. They prefer a little bit cooler weather, and you can cut it and grow again also. Some protection needed for the coldest of nights. Radish is another one. Red icicle daikons, approximately 30 to 70 days for them to ripen. You might want to stagger your planting for ripening. The ones that ripen quicker, that you can harvest quicker, you might do them first, and then you can plant some more later, and so you'll have radishes throughout your time, not just all at once. So then you can continuously have good radish crops. They like it cool, but they also need light protection when it's colder. Peas are another one that can be grown in this time of year. Shelling and snow peas. Plant them 4 to 6 weeks before frost. They can tolerate a light frost, but cannot tolerate hard freeze. You keep harvesting these to encourage sets, so the more you harvest, or more you are able to harvest, the more you're able to have grow. But they need active pollinators, so that's one key to the peas. So, bees are good pollinators, but you don't see near as many of them as this time of year as you do during summer. Broccoli and cauliflower are also popular in this part of the world. You can start seeds indoors 4 to 6 weeks before frost, and then you may want to transplant them outside. They like it cool, but they also like it mild. They probably will need protection for hard freezes. Some varieties of the Brussels sprouts are more hardy than others if you're going to plant Brussels sprouts. You sow in the midsummer for winter harvest. So they tolerate frost well, but not deep cold. They do better with milder winters. Now we have carrots. You can plant them 4 to 6 weeks before harvest. They germinate best in warm soil. They ripen best in cooler weather. They also need some protection. You can mulch in for winter harvest. They prefer loose soils, not heavy clay also. And with these, you need to watch for mice damage. Beets are another one you need to watch for mice damage. You plant them about 6 weeks before frost. They germinate well in warm soils. They prefer cooler weather. They have more sugars and deeper colors for winter ripened beets than they do others. They tolerate cool also, and they also benefit from cold protection. And here in a minute at the end, we'll discuss a little bit about the protection to keep them from being too cold. Turnips plant about 6 weeks before frost. They germinate well in warm soils. They grow great in cooler weather, and they need protection from cold also. Kohlrabi is an interesting looking critter, and I honestly don't know much about it, and I'm not even sure I've ever had it, but I know some people like it. So it about 6 weeks before frost. They also germinate best in warm soil. They ripen best in cool weather and can tolerate a light frost. The leaves and the bulbous stem are both edible, and they benefit from a light protection also. So here we'll talk a little bit about keeping some of your crops from getting too cold. You can use row covers, and this Agribon that we have on here, there's 3 different levels. They have light frost protection, which is the Agribon 19. Moderate frost, they have an Agribon 30. And for Agribon 50, it's for the heavier frost to mid-cold. So if you look over in the left-hand corner, the white covering on these crops is what the Agribon looks like. So you can cover your susceptible plants with whichever level of Agribon you think you might need, so that'll help extend your growing season. You can also use mini hoops, which is on the right-hand side, and you can put plastic over those also. Electric conduit works really good for the hoops because it's pliable and you can cut it into different lengths, so you can cover your plants with it. You can cover it with a plastic, but you have to remember that they need air circulation on sunny days because they can get too hot and they can kind of bake in there if it gets too warm. And we know what it's like in the summer and even the fall around here, because I think we're still going to have some 90-degree days here shortly. You can also use cold frames, which is the bottom right-hand corner, which is something you can build and put your plants in, which helps keep them warm and insulated. Or you can use straw bale insulation. Some people plant directly into their straw bales, and that kind of helps keep everything happy and warm. Here's some additional resources. There's a video where you can build the mini hoops or low-cost hoop tunnels, and another one for written plans for the mini hoops and raised beds. We also have several publications here, and any of them are available if you want to give me a call, or they have some here that they printed out if you want to come by here and pick some up at Keep Roswell Beautiful. We also have some other extension publications from Utah State University and Texas Ag Life that talk about planting the fall garden and fall vegetable gardening. So there's lots of resources out there if you need some. And that'll come to the end of my presentation. Again, my name's Troy Thompson, and here you see my email. John Garlish, Stephanie Walker, Marisa Thompson are also work for New Mexico State University in different sectors, and they are also good resources if we need to find out more. And all the other people, Linda Garvin, Sarah Moran, Suzanne Cole, and all the extension agents, as well as Amanda Skidmore, all helped put these slides and presentation together. And so we thank them and appreciate them letting us use their presentations.